at a time where there's a little bit of some green shoots around in terms of where the industry's at. If I look back over the last 3 years, there's no question it's been a very, very difficult one for the whole sector, and we've certainly felt that across all of the markets that we're operating in. Even Asia's been, there are battles in those markets that have been growing very strongly for us. But just this summer, we're starting to see some strengthening of a lot of our existing markets. We've had a good summer out of Australia. March arrivals will come out tomorrow, but the preliminary data suggests that they'll be quite strong out of Germany, the UK and the USA. So markets that have been really tough for us over the last 3 or 4 years, starting to show signs of improvement. I mean, there's a whole lot of reasons for that. The cricket tour was helpful for us out of the UK. There's no question about that. Having Easter in March will have helped us out of Australia a wee bit. But overall, we're starting to see a sense of increasing demand, and we're starting to see a more positive picture as we look forward. There's a lot of good positive things happening around the sector. There's a lot of new leadership. We've got Martin, who's here today, leading TIA, and I think really helping pull the whole industry together. New leadership at Auckland Airport, new leadership at Air New Zealand. A real sense that as an industry, we're probably more collectively aligned on what needs to be done than we have been for a very, very long time. So from my point of view, I've never felt quite so positive and quite so excited about the prospects that we're looking forward to over the next little while. It's easy for us to look at Middle-earth and The Hobbit and go, oh, well, that was something we did last year. But really, that's starting to resonate around the world. We're seeing the results of New Zealand being associated with Middle-earth, affecting preference and intention to travel to New Zealand in just about every market we're operating in. And remember, we've got 2 more films to come. So we've got a premiere this December in the UK, which is in Los Angeles, which is another great opportunity to join up New Zealand and Middle-earth, and then an opportunity in late 2014 in the United Kingdom, where we have a London premiere we're expecting. So still a lot of opportunity out of that theme for us to look at leveraging over the next little while. So really positive position for us to be in at the moment. And then my day got made a few weeks ago when I discovered that our funding was going to be strengthened as well. So going into the next 3-year period, we'll have more funding than Tourism New Zealand's ever had in its history. And I think that's fantastic. It's a great sign of commitment from this government to this industry. And it's a great sign of commitment, of course, to the work that my team's been doing in partnership with many of you in the room. So I feel really positive about that, and I think that's going to give us some new opportunities to invest in some new areas and to deepen and improve the quality of some of the work that we're already doing. I'm not planning to go into what that means specifically today. The Prime Minister's hosting a press conference at 4 o'clock this afternoon. He's going to talk more about what that money is going to be spent on, and then I'll be able to go into that in more detail tomorrow and the next day. So, other than to say it's a lot more, and it's a really welcome opportunity, I think, for the whole industry to get behind this opportunity, to work together and to realise some of these new growing, emerging segments within the whole globe. And I think one of the things that's really important is a lot's been talked about China, and China is really important and it will keep getting more important, but our plan is right across the world. We see great opportunities still in Europe, we see great opportunities in the US, and we still see great opportunities in Australia. So we will have a balanced approach to this, but clearly some of these emerging markets, and I guess with our number 2 market, you'd hardly call China emerging, but it is very fast changing in terms of the opportunities within that market. So I think, again, there's going to be some really great news starting at 4 o'clock this afternoon that the Prime Minister will go into, which I'll be able to elaborate on in the coming days. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause. I might take 1 or 2 immediate questions if there are any, and if not, I'll hand over to Greg, and then we'll have a full Q&A at the end, which Tim's going to convene for us, which he just found out about. Anything immediate that anyone needs to get off their chest? Or would you rather we just get onto it and heard from the people that know what they're doing? You're really warmed up. Catherine's done a great job warming you up, hasn't she? She said she was going to come in and you'd just be ready for action and you'd have questions and clapping and enthusiasm, but maybe that's going to come. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Greg, over to you.
Cheers. Do you want this? No.
Okay.
Kia ora,
I'm going to stand behind a lectern. I usually don't like it, but it's 6 o'clock on a Saturday night in Los Angeles right now, so I'm having trouble standing at Trends talking rather than standing with a beer in my hand. So, look, just want to very, very briefly run through a few bits and pieces on North America. I'm going to have to put my glasses on. This is what happens. This is Trends number 17 for me, and this is the first time I'm wearing glasses at Trends. Does it to you eventually. Anyway, this will be me. Right, just a real quick update, and I really only want to touch on 3 slides very quickly. First one's just some key trends that I think you need to know about before you go into the session tomorrow. And the first one is about the increasing direct purchase of air from the Americas. We're talking Canada, USA here, more so than South America, but we are seeing probably 40% plus of air booked independently of land. So quite important. And what's driving that? Things like frequent flyer miles, people looking for the good deals, increasingly using online travel agents and the rest, but that doesn't mean that they don't have to buy land somewhere else. So this is why you're seeing Air New Zealand move into Air New Zealand Vacations, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, trying to make sure that good connection between land and air. So that's quite important. Online sales are growing as a proportion of total sales, and that's a consequence of what we're seeing in many of the traditional markets. People, the travelling audience is getting younger, so more online savvy, a lot more students and others. So we are seeing growth in online, but again, that may be air, that may be rental cars, and that may only be the first or second night's accommodation. It doesn't need to be the full package. So again, while we're spending a lot of money with those partners, and particularly the big boys that are here, the Orbitzes, the Expedias, we're still having to work with our traditional wholesalers, because they're the guys that can fill in the gaps in between, or alternatively, make sure you've got good strategies that people can find your product while in New Zealand. Cruise numbers continue to grow, and particularly at the expense of series coach tours. It's coming, it's happening, but please be prepared for a lot of the wholesalers talking to you about how you can work with them on pre and post cruise touring. The cruise ships are coming. There's lots of opportunities if you're based on the coast, but there are just as many opportunities if you're based inland, if you're working with the right people. Some of the programs that we have been running with the wholesalers that are here are seeing something like 40% of cruise passengers also buy pre and post touring. So look at that. It's even people like Grand Pac, right through to the more traditional, the Stellas and the likes of Goways. So that's important. However, the vast bulk of the people that we've got here are your your wholesalers and specialists. And together with retailers, they are still the most important piece in terms of driving the market, and particularly driving value for the market. That's why they're here. Work with them. People are buying through a multitude of sources, but these are the guys that we really need to get going. So who is here? Really want to categorise them into 4 groups. We've got all the big guys, the national operators, so the Stellas, the Swains, the Down Under Answers, the Goways. And these are the teams the marketing teams that we work with when we're particularly targeting consortia. I can never say that word. Another 17 trends, I might nail that word. So we're working with these guys and their outreach. So who owns the consumer franchise? The retailers. So we work with the wholesalers to put programs together to drive it. So work with these guys, and this is why they're asking you for big margins, because they're having to pass that value on down through the chain. And these guys are having to pay big key money to work with retail chains. The vast bulk of the 20 from the USA are the smaller specialists though. So that's everybody from the people like the Best of New Zealand Fly Fishing, Active Down Under, the Uniquely New Zealand's. These guys are the ones that come, many of them, Best of New Zealand is here every year, but many of the others are here every 2 or 3 years. And they are looking for those little gems that they can sell to their retail agents or their direct clients about what is special about a New Zealand holiday. So they're here and that's what they want to hear. So really chase those guys down. You're hearing a lot about special interest here. That's the coalface. These guys are the ones that are going to really make that special interest work. Online players, Expedia and Orbitz are here again. We're putting a lot of effort into trying to increase their value to us. And part of that might only just be content online. Sure, they're selling more in the way of activities, but importantly, the strategy is making sure that when somebody goes in there and wants to buy an airfare or some accommodation, they go, hey, we need to book 2 weeks rather than just 7 days, because this is how much there is to see, this is how many places there are to go. Importantly, the new entrants, the Australia-New Zealand Group Services. Anybody who's been at Trends as long as I have will know Wayne Stenning. Used to be with Air New Zealand, used to be with Newman's. Great operator. And Wayne is here around special interest group travel. And we're starting to see that group travel come back, but not necessarily only around sort of set departures, series coach, but a whole lot of new special areas, educational, special interest, and a whole lot of those areas. So look out for Wayne. Great operator, great experience, pick his brain. PacificIslands.com, with Air New Zealand being the only direct carrier on the route, we're doing a lot of work via the islands. So these guys are part of the Tahiti Nui group, and they are looking online to put together the complete end-to-end experience through the islands. And then put to New Zealand. So looking for a whole range of product to combine into special itineraries for this group. And of course, Air New Zealand Holidays. They're here. Watch for Jeff Adam. If you don't know Jeff, you certainly will by the end of the week, I suspect. He will be the guy who's networked with everybody here. He is the guy that every year he does, I think, speaks to about 10,000 travel agents via webinar. He's just like a little Energizer bunny from a boy from Adelaide, which is quite unusual. But Air New Zealand Vacations are a co-brand of Down Under Answers out of Seattle, and they are really stepping up in the marketplace. And because of their alignment with Air New Zealand, really some great opportunities for anybody that's not working with them now. So please chase out Jeff. Just closing before I pass to Danielle, just what will be the 3 or 4 things that you'll see from North America this year? A strong focus on working with consortia. So this is their partnership members, their preferred partners. I'm looking out, I see a number of Virtuoso members. So Virtuoso is a great one that we work with, but we're also working with a number of others, travel leaders, many, there's probably about 5 or 6. So speak to Jackie on the floor and she can tell you who we're working with, what focus that activity's taking, and particularly are there opportunities to be involved in training. Big step in terms of training, the relaunch of training modules this year. I mentioned special interest, you'll hear quite a lot of that through the week, but how can we motivate more people to come for those activities? And again, a number of the sellers here are represented well in that area. And then finally, just a big thank you, and I know Danielle will do the same, for any of you that are involved in the Mega Famil that's coming down in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you for your support. I was just blown away when I heard that there are 70 operators and regions coming to Auckland for the final day. So I appreciate your effort. I appreciate the investment you're making in time and also in your products on the Famils. So thank you very much. There'll be time for questions at the end. Danielle.
Thanks, Greg. In typical fashion, those that know me, I've lost my voice on the first day of Trends, so forgive me for sounding squeaky. Okay, so kia ora everybody. For those that don't know me, I'm Danielle Gentinot. I'm the Regional Manager for UK and Europe. And boy, what a difference a year makes. I'm not going to go into economy and all of those sort of things because I was asked to talk about our buyers and what they're looking for. And I had my prop. You'll see with my team as they're going around their appointments, they've got a big file. So in that is all about our economy, our strategies, our campaign work, what we're doing in trade, all of that sort of thing. So there will actually be a copy of that on a USB stick. You can't get the USB stick, but bring your laptop and go to the TNZ stand, and Tansy and Tanya will let you upload it. So they'll have all the information on there for you. So just a couple of things that are concentrating in our region. Very strong focus on youth. working holiday visa. It's a very, very key market for us. We've got a very strong relationship with the likes of STA Travel, but we're really starting to develop more product and training with the next tier down, so we're not necessarily just focusing on one client. So you'll see a lot more activity from us out of that region. We're just at the moment in the throes of trying to pull off a youth famil. Not that the trade team in Wellington want to know about that just yet. As to Greg's point as well, special interest in our region, particularly UK, Germany and France, walking and hiking is a very, very strong product. Cycling, cycleways, food and wine, and of course that luxury sector. So our activity over the next 3 years, as we're going into our next 3-year strategy, is very much going to be focused in those areas. Greg's already mentioned the training, the Kiwi Specialist Program. There's a lot of investment from the trade team and Tourism New Zealand gone into revitalising that. That's being launched in the next couple of months. And what we're also wanting to do is invest more into the language capability, translating particularly French and German. In those markets, they typically like to have it in their own language, which makes sense, quite frankly. So we're putting a lot of focus on that. And again, Mega Famil, huge thank you for those that are involved. It's a massive, massive undertaking. We've got about 60 very, very excited agents due to come down in about 2 weeks' time. And we've tried to get as much regional spread as we can. So if we're not coming to your region, I do apologise, but we just can't fit everything in. New Zealand might be small, but as you know, there's a lot on offer. So really, really thank you for that one. So who have we got coming? We've had a couple of changes since I sent this presentation. Unfortunately, we've had a few people cancel. Out of the UK, really excited. We've got, I say newish for First Class Holidays because they haven't been down for a while. Caught up with Brian last night. He's really excited. There's your traditionals there. Many of you will recognise everybody on that board. Travel Magellan, Janet, she's a new buyer, and I really want to point out that we talk about value-based clients and total stay days in our speak. And whilst Janet typically hasn't sent anybody to New Zealand, she has done a lot of work with a lot of our luxury product, and she's already been quoting on some files. And to give you an example of the value of some of these people, she's got a couple that are coming out to Australia and New Zealand for 8 weeks. It was originally going to be 5 and 3, 5 to Australia. Convinced her to change that, and the ground component alone is £25,000. So huge amount of money from these clients, and she's actually been out, I'll see her tonight, she's been in the country for 11 days doing a pre-transfer and she's emailed me a couple of times, and she said, and I was so delighted, she said, Danielle, I get it. The light has come on, and she's just been emailing her clients. And so I think that one of the roles I have as your RM in my region is to deliver you the next wave of buyers so that you're seeing growth and consistency. So make yourself known to Janet. She's a great girl, and she's very, very excited to be here. Germany, again, I'm not going to take you through all of these. There's the usual suspects. But what I'd like to emphasise in these clients that are coming back every year is, they're just so committed to coming to Trends, and they're so committed to New Zealand. And we've got a function with all of our buyers tonight, and my big focus on that is to thank them for that continued support every year. I mean, you look at some of these buyers and they've been coming for years and years and years. So take the time to introduce yourself to them. Got a few newbies in a few new regions here, particularly Italy and Spain. Again, some of them have been selling Australia, but they haven't typically been selling into New Zealand yet. But again, they've attended our product workshops. Some of you in the room have been to these workshops in London, and thank you for coming up into market. They've been to these workshops. They've done their Kiwi Specialist Program. They've undertaken webinars, and they've committed to coming to Trends. So from my perspective, I'm delighted in their investment in New Zealand, so it's great. A few more newbies there. We have unfortunately had a few cancellations. I don't know if some of you have heard about the news from TaylorMade in the UK. Very unfortunate. Tracy sends her regards to those of you that know her. They're going to be closing up shop on the 8th of May, unless something comes out of nowhere. So unfortunately, Tracy and Rhiannon had to cancel. We've also had a cancellation from Denmark, unfortunately a tragedy in the family. But they all wanted to, so if you've got some of those appointments with those people, please check your cancellation list, is all I can say to that one. Oh, that's the end of my slide. So just a couple of things to wrap up. When I talk to the buyers about what it is they're coming down for, what they're looking for, it's authenticity, and I mean genuine authenticity. Kiwis are known for being really friendly people and engaging. This is what our travellers are coming down for. So, you know, trying to develop product that really engages our travellers to New Zealand is really, really important. When we talk about premium and luxury, that's not necessarily, you know, staying in super lodges the whole way. It's about a memorable experience for them, so something that they're engaging and they feel inspired by. Another thing too is a number of them have said, oh, you know, we get asked all the time, or we get asked all the time about databases. I just want to put something in there. EU law actually prevents us from sending out, giving you all a huge database. So it's an awkward situation, it's an awkward email to have to send back to people. But take this time, obviously you've got all these buyers in from this region to get their details. But I can't stress enough, the best way to get in contact with a tour operator up there is to work through your inbound operator. Yeah, they're the ones that know the clients. So go and talk to the inbound operators, and I hope that's okay. Yeah, so I mean, we're, in our region, we're still a typically traditional booking model, so high street. There's a lot of research done online, but typically UK and Germany particularly, they still will research hours and hours and hours, and then they'll go into the travel agent. So again, I can't re-emphasise enough the importance of working through your inbound operator to understand those buyers in that market. And obviously on our site, we have a lot of updates. We update our stats all the time. So, but if you've got specific questions, obviously, about a particular region, I'm obviously more than happy to help that. We've got Rachel Hunt, Rachel Keane, for those that knew her from, she used to be at ATEED. She came on board last year just after Trends, and so she looks after our UK and Ireland market. And we've got Sandra Etta, who I'm sure many of you know, and she's from our, she's our trade manager for Europe. So they're our two trade ladies out this year. So I'm sure you'll want to be in touch with